I wanted to ask you about Black August and what that was.
August is important because we're in the midst of it. And basically, Black August emerged from something called the August 21 coalitions that were organized in the late 1970s, essentially in honor of the assassination of George Jackson.
On August 21st, 1971, Black Panther George Jackson was shot and killed as he allegedly attempted to escape from the infamous San Quentin State Prison. 10 years earlier, in 1961, at the age of 18, for stealing $70 from a gas station, he was sentenced 1 year to life in prison. According to his judge, that indeterminate sentence was to incentivize a so-called good behavior from Jackson. While he was in prison, he displayed anything but that so-called good behavior that the judge wanted. Instead, he fought for freedom. He was appointed as a field marshal by the Oakland chapter of the Black Panther Party, and he recruited other incarcerated people. He organized sit-ins against segregated cafeterias, and he taught martial arts.
In 1971, in 1979, a group of prisoners who were incarcerated in, I believe, San Quentin, declared the month of August, Black August, as a tribute to George Jackson, his brother Jonathan Jackson, who was murdered on August 7th, 1970, and to another freedom fighter called Jeffrey Katari Galden, who was killed in San Quentin on August 1st, 1978. And so effectively, Black August is an expression of solidarity with all Black political prisoners and prisoners of war. Um, and it's a time of sacrifice and self-discipline. And so those who like incarcerated Black folks, they do things like fast from sun up to sundown. They refuse to listen to television or radio. They give up their canteen privileges, and then they focus on intense political study. And so a quote from Umia Abu Jamal, he said, August, quote, August, a month of injustice and divine justice, of repression and righteous rebellion, of individual and collective efforts to free the slaves and break the chains that bind us, end quote. And so what I always want to point out is that Black August is not Juneteenth Part 2. It's not, radical Black History Month. It really is about political prisoners, and it really is about the cultivation of a particular type of practice that's rooted in study and discipline and sacrifice. And it's also important because political prisoners are at the center, right? And that in turn is important because these are often persons who are incarcerated are often those who we forget about, right? They're the people who, but they also are the people who are struggling against these extraordinarily repressive material conditions, right? And um, the forms of exploitation and domination that permeate U.S. society are very visceral and very stark in the prison system. And so Black August reminds us that, number one, political repression is ongoing, right? Number two, that these political prisoners and prisoners in general they're not the disposable people of society. They're not people that we can forget about or just legitimate their oppression. That these are thinking people. They create theory, they create art, they create knowledge. They're freedom fighters, and that their experience is as important as those of us who are free in their realities, right? And so Black August, I think, one of the bad things about, I think, talking about Black August, and I see more and more people commemorating or celebrating it. It is not something that's to be celebrated, it's to be commemorated, right? It's something that's commemorated. But the bad thing is that it's ultimately going to become another Juneteenth, right? So pretty soon we'll see, I don't know, plates and shit with jail bars on it, like it's the unfreedom for me or whatever the fuck, I don't know. Yeah. But like this becomes hugely problematic because the point is for, it's a call to action, right? It's a call to struggle. It's a means of moving toward like abolition of prison and policing. It's not yet another sort of Black thing to be co-opted and to be pimped by corporations. And so I just hope we keep that in mind.